poppin', y'all? My name's Lacey, and welcome back to Laced Up, your girl's favorite sports podcast talking all things Texas Longhorns. The season's here. We just finished up our game against Rice, and I have some thoughts, and so do a lot of y'all, so do a lot of other Texas content creators, and I am so excited to be able to sit down with one today. Nick Battle over at NinosCorner Sports is sitting down with us today, and we're going to just go over what we saw this weekend, how Saturday looked for us, how we expect to be able to address those in practice this week, and how we expect this upcoming Saturday to go. You know, we have Bama this week. It's a big week. It's a big statement week for both Quinn, Sark, everybody. It is a huge game, and I'm so excited to go down to Tuscaloosa and raise some hell. So let's go ahead and get started. Get ready for a dope episode today, y'all, because I have a very special guest. We've got Nick Battle from Nino's Corner over here, Hook 'em Horns. I'm so excited to have him on today because he's another diehard. He's on here on YouTube. Make sure you go follow him. We'll make sure to put all the links and stuff in the description. So, Nick, you want to kind of introduce yourself a little bit? Tell us about your fandom, and all that stuff. See, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, man. Nick Battle, aka Nino's Corner. You know, catch me at Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, NinosCorner Sports. You know, just go there. I got like so much video content when it comes to Texas football. Also, go to the SEC Connect. It's me, Steven, from FP, Ty from ATS Sports, Chris from the Horns Down Podcast, and Jay from Unfair Sports. We got an SEC Connect podcast that airs every Wednesday night as well. So go check that out on YouTube. We talk nothing but football. It's a great conversation, basically like barber talk show.
And that's great. And that's great for, next year going into the SEC, getting all those vibes going, getting that feel already. So how are you feeling? How are you feeling about the game this past Saturday? How are you feeling about how we looked? Like, what are your first initial reactions?
Initially underwhelmed. I was expecting so much more from the offense. The offense let me down in that first half, and I was just like, wow. I mean, it's like, 13-3 or 16-3 going into that.
Yeah.
But the second half was a little bit better. Offense started to click a little bit better. But the defense was A1. I was very, very happy about the defense. But the offense, man, it's just that deep ball. If we can ever hit a deep ball, outstanding. But it hasn't happened too much over the past, 2 years.
I feel like they'll come though. It's one of those things where I feel like eventually they're going to hit, right? Because, there's so much talent on this team. It's tough because we know that Sark runs that pro offense. We know that he likes to spread it out. He loves the RPO game. So a part of that is spreading out the offense, is being able to connect on the deep ball so that we can spread out the defense and they can run the ball a little bit better and make sure that I'm like babbling.
No, you're good. It was good.
Anyways, but yeah, just make sure that we're living up on all cylinders and living up to the talent that we have and winning games that we're supposed to win. I, too, was a little bit underwhelmed. And part of me wonders if that's based off of our own expectations or if it's based off of what we actually seen. Because I know a lot of people Saturday had a lot of opinions, a lot of emotions. It was a very emotional day. We were very vocal about how we were feeling about the team and our expectations. And whether or not they lived up to those expectations, right? So I feel like some of it has to do with our own expectations. We see the hard work they've been putting in. We see what Sark has been building. We see his work in the transfer portal, recruiting, development. We see everything that he's doing. So I feel like we just have extremely high expectations for the ceiling of this team. And to come out and look a little bit flat immediately is a little bit frustrating, but kind of feeding into our topic today about kind of feeding into the main goal of this entire show, and that's talking about the strengths, the weaknesses, and how that's feeding into this upcoming Saturday. I think one of the strengths was the second half adjustments. I think that we were able to make mistakes. We had issues in the first half, miscommunications, whether it be route running miscommunications on the line, A to Z, all that stuff. It seemed to be fixed at halftime. It seemed to be we came out at the second half, got our shit together, and immediately, go on 3 scores. So
definitely. That was a big thing from Sark too last year. We were worried about the lack of adjustments last year. We have a great opening script, great first half. We come out blazing, and then the second half, it's like, what the hell happened to this team? And it's kind of the reverse. So I would rather have the reverse.
Yeah, I mean, if you had to choose, like, I would much rather kind of look crazy in the first half and get our shit together and finish really strong and end up winning the game instead of giving it away at the last second.
Exactly. So yeah, I was very happy with that. And it was Rice too, so we were able to just kind of do what the team could do, against them. Yeah, I was happy about that too. Just having some kind of adjustments. Last year was bad for adjustments. The year before was even worse. But
even worse.
Yeah, it was horrible 2 years ago. It was not as horrible, but not bad. It was like mid last year. And this year, if you look at
we saw the effort. Like it was
effort.
Like we were trying. We saw the
team.
thought was there. Exactly.
It was a young team. We had 2 offensive linemen that were true freshmen. We had a quarterback who was literally a true freshman last year. A lot of youth playing on that team last year. So to be able to to kind of grow up in front of us was good. So this year we got better at that. We really adjusted.
Well, and you really saw a difference. You saw a little bit of it. You saw a little bit of it last year, in the UTSA game, and how that kind of transpired. How we, obviously it was right after Bama, but you kind of saw how we came out a little bit sluggish, seemed just kind of, we were asleep, like we were tired, we were kind of drained. Yeah, pretty much just kind of like rolling with the punches, but then they really came out in the second half and put it on them. So I don't know. I feel like it's hard because we have, like you said, we have that same problem, but in reverse. So are we going to be able to fix that? That's kind of something that we're going into this season with a couple questions. Is that something that's going to be able to be fixed?
Yeah. I think Texas has to play a brand of ball that there has to be a sense of urgency all the time, and not just in small pockets. I think this team knows that they're really talented. These are some of the top kids in the country that are here, right? So they all understand that they're really talented. And in high school and in middle school and all the time that they play ball, they've been able to flip a switch and turn it on. But everybody at this level is just as good as you, right? And so I think that's where it comes into play, is when you have to play a lot of freshmen early. I think they're thinking that switch is like an anytime switch, and it's not, right? And so it has to be constant. And so that's the piece that I think Texas has to actually learn with it is we don't have the time, to groom a left tackle. Kevin Banks Jr. had to come in and start from day one. We don't have the time to groom 2 guards, right? Campbell started yesterday. Cole Hudson started all last year. So we had more penalties last year because they were young. Just having that same fire and intensity throughout a game is just something that kind of has to be taught over time, with seeing other players practice, and seeing how it's done the right way. And I think this is like the building block class for Sark, for the 2024 class and on.
Well, and I agree, because, I kind of talked about it previously about Sark building a winning culture, bringing in guys that have that instinct, that tenacity, that hunger to get on the field, that's gonna sharpen the rest of the iron that's being forged, so you have guys that are coming in that are hungry, that are just as talented, that have all the skills and all the resources and everything that they need to be successful right on your tail. So you have no margin for error.
Exactly. And I think that's evident when you look at a guy like Manny Muhammad. He played so well yesterday at cornerback. And so him being a true freshman coming in and playing like that, it only makes the guys who are in front of him want to play better because they want to keep their spot.
Yeah, exactly.
Actually keep your spot, you got to keep this young 5-star off the field. So you got to up your game. Like, I think some of those guys might see a guy like Manny Muhammad or see like a Derek Williams and like understand that their potential is way better than mine. But the attitude that they need to have is, yeah, you're gonna be better than me, but not today. I ain't losing my job, right? So that's probably the attitude that's happening on the defensive side of the ball, right? So you're saying, like, I don't even think we saw Sadir Mitchell yesterday. If we did, it was in limited time. But to have a 345-pound, D tackle not playing,
Just sitting in the wing.
just sitting in the wings because we have so much talent there. Byron Murphy, Sweat, Vernon Broughton, who played his ass off yesterday, Alfred Collins, to have that.
This kind of feeds into the strength that we were talking about. So go ahead and go with your strength, because that was a big one. So
it's the biggest strength. I think everybody knew that Sweat was going to be that guy this year. Him and Murphy. But it was basically who was going to be the guy opposite of Sweat after Coburn left. And then also Ojimo left too as well. So both of those guys are like in the league. So who are going to be those two guys to take those spots? I'm a very high person on Byron Murphy. He's one of my favorite players in the defense. Come from a good team, came from big old DeSoto, Texas. We won a bunch of games. We got like a factory going there now. We got him, we got Trey Wisner, we got John Tate, right? So that's a very good program.
Well, they're recruiting Tiger Ryden right now too. So
yep, exactly. But the defensive line was just outstanding. Sweat is playing so well right now. He's going to play himself into a second or third round pick if he keeps this up, right?
I was really impressed with. Sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say I was very, very impressed with how we were able to keep the fresh legs in, all the rotation, all the movement. Yeah. We were hearing so many different guys' names from the line yesterday. We were here, or what's today, Monday? Saturday.
Yeah, I know.
We were hearing... We were hearing so many different guys' names, Alfred Collins, Vernon Broughton, Byron Murphy. All of these guys are making, Chris Ross. We're hearing all these different guys' names. And I mean, like I said, it goes back to the iron sharpening iron and making sure that there isn't a big difference between the ones and the twos, just like Sark has been saying. And I think that we saw that, especially defensively yesterday.
Exactly.
And dang it, I keep saying yesterday.
I know. It's all
Ow, and then I hit my head.
I know you're good. But that's the main thing when it comes to, the defense. You got to have that line straight. Everything starts with the defensive line. You get more pressure on a quarterback. They throw the ball a split second sooner. It gives the opportunity for a defensive back to jump the ball, jump the route. And next thing you know, you have Austin Jordan getting an interception, right? Next thing you know, JT Daniels is throwing the ball a little bit quicker than anticipated, and Jalen Ford is getting a one-handed, grab, right? So, I mean, I loved it. I loved like the whole line. Ethan Burke shined pretty well. I was very happy with that. We saw Jamon Tapp and Finkley yesterday as well too. So I'm telling you, man, that line is really good.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And then talking about the defensive line going into next week, we have a very tough game ahead of us. We have a very ferocious line ahead of us. We have big dudes in front of us. So we really got to put it together. And I really liked seeing how well we swarmed. I really liked seeing how whenever there was a tackle, whenever anything was being done during a play, you saw a complete swarm of burnt orange jerseys just around the ball.
Exactly.
And that's how you play complete defense.
Yep, exactly. And I'll tell you what else, just the linebackers in general too, just the swarming aspect. Last year we had to swarm with Overshawn, right? He was the guy, sideline to sideline, outstanding speed, great instincts. And so there's a lot of, basically conversation on who's going to play next to Jalen Ford this year now that we don't have Overshawn. And David Bender stepped up amazingly, really good, So I think he led the team in tackles too, and he got beat for one play. He did, but he came back and he saved himself on the next play. Got a sack, right?
Immediately after, yeah.
Yeah, immediately, which is great because previous teams, you will see some players that make a mistake and they get down on themselves. Football is, hey, if I get beat this play, let it go, data dump it, play the next play, right? It's a quick league, right? So everything has to be done where you're not thinking anymore. It's just action. And so Benda came through and did some great things.
There were a couple guys that showed that kind of mental toughness whenever it came. Honestly, I'll give a lot of that to Quinn. Quinn showed a lot of mental toughness to be able to struggle in the first half, struggle with the deep ball. He was very good in the short and intermediate game, but struggle with the deep passes. And, we still see a little bit of issues with the footwork, albeit there are guys in his face. We're going to talk about the offensive line and everything along the, oh my gosh, and all of that in a second. But I really liked seeing Quinn not only make the adjustments physically going into the second half, but not letting that first half really dwell on, like not allowing himself to really dwell on the mistakes and the drop balls and the sacks and all this other stuff, not allowing that to affect his performance.
Yeah. You know what though? That's true. He was mentally tough, on Saturday. He did have a really good second half. He has to get the deep ball straight. I think Quinn's throwing off his back foot a lot, and I think he can get away with that in high school. But folks are so much quicker here.
Well, and we're seeing the struggles with it. We're seeing him airball some of these passes and just float some of these passes whenever we know that he's capable of fully darting it down the field.
Yeah, and then also, is the deep ball one of his strong suits? Maybe it's not. Maybe he's just really good at making strong throws sideline to sideline. Maybe the deep ball isn't his strong suit as far as like the accuracy part of it. But he had a couple instances where I think X was wide open, probably 3 or 4, I think 3 yards behind the DB, and he threw it short. X, good thing about X, he came back to the ball, which is something that we didn't see a lot last year because of his hand issue. But he came into the ball, he almost caught that ball. I mean, he almost pinned it against the guy's back. But I also, put that on having a guy like Jonte Cook behind you and knowing that this is an animal behind me. And maybe Jonte's pushing him in practice too a lot. And so iron sharpens iron, like you said, right? And so there's opportunity where he's seeing how a guy like A.D. Mitchell has went to Georgia and won 2 championships and seeing his work ethic maybe. But X's work ethic has never been questioned. Everybody says he's one of the first in, last out. His notes are outstanding. He takes notes like crazy. I'm expecting a big year from him this year. But yeah, he almost caught that ball. A.D. Mitchell had one. He was like 5 yards behind the defensive back. I think Quinn threw off his back foot again, and he came up short. But if he can just step into those throws, we're looking at 2 touchdowns there. And it's almost there.
We're getting there. That's the thing, is that like I said, it's hard to differentiate between our own expectations and realistic expectations, right? Like what are the realistic expectations for Quinn going from year 1 to year 2 under Sark? And I think that this entire offseason, we've built ourselves up big time.
Yeah.
We are very, very excited about the season, and I think that we have a right to be. I think that we have a lot of reason to believe that we'll be very good this season. But I think that because we have that ingrained in our head already, we expect ourselves to go out and be perfect. What's up, football fans? The season is finally here. It's finally here. We don't have to sit and dream about it anymore. And what better way to celebrate the season being here than by getting yourself a jersey, a shirt, a hat, something to commemorate your favorite team, get your fandom going, and the best place to do that is at Fanatics. Fanatics has any sport that you can think of. Basketball, football, soccer, volleyball, anything, all of the above. You think it, they have it. Fanatics is the worldwide leader in sports apparel, and it's where I've always shopped. It's where my family has always shopped. We love Fanatics. Make sure you hit that link down in the description and go and get y'all's gears today, because the season's here and it ain't waiting on you. So go to Fanatics right now. And it's not football's not a perfect science. It's not a perfect system. It is played by human beings. It just is what it is. So people are going to make mistakes. At the end of the day, Quinn is in year 2. I fully expect to see him progressively get better as the year goes on and really take into consideration what Sarkis said over winter, spring, summer ball and really just progress in his craft. And I think we just got to give him time.
Yeah. So this is the only thing about the Quinn situation. This is, I think, a conversation that Longhorn fans don't really want to talk about. But we need Quinn to be really good this year.
Mm-hmm.
And not just for the winning sake. We need Quinn to be really good so he can go to the league.
Mm-hmm.
Because we have 2 quarterbacks that are behind him that if Quinn stays another year, somebody is definitely leaving.
Yeah.
It could be either one. It could be Malik. It could be Arch. It could be anybody. But yeah, if Quinn comes back, then how do we explain about the open competition? Because coaches usually don't sit 2-year starters. Like they just don't sit them on the bench. I think we've seen it happen with TCU, with Max Duggan last year. He was a 3 or 4 year starter and he got benched. But he came back,
and ended up in New York.
Yeah. But those are like so much the exception and not the rule.
Yeah.
And so, we need Quinn to do well this year so he can go to the league and so that we can start to have the 2 guys that Sark really recruited for his program. Like he went out to California, he recruited Malik Murphy. That was his first quarterback recruit, if you want to talk about this, a no-kidding recruit for his team. And then the second one was Arch Manning. So, I think to unlock this offense, it has to be a quarterback that is basically handpicked by Sark. We've seen the power with Murphy. He has a hell of an arm. We've seen, Manning is a Manning, right? He's going to be fundamentally sound, and I don't think we're going to have footwork issues with Manning.
Well, they've been saying that Manning has the highest football IQ on the entire team, especially in that room, and that shouldn't surprise anybody. That should not surprise one single person, and it's nothing against Malik. It's nothing against Quinn. It's not anything personal. You're dealing with a family of football royalty. Of course, he's gonna have
the first family of football when you think about it.
Yeah, like
he has 4 Super Bowls in his
bloodline. Like that's the type of guy that we're talking about. And if we're being completely honest, Peyton and Eli have said that he's even further along than they were at his age. So yeah, so I agree. I think Quinn needs to take those strides. He needs to take those steps, and I think he will. I think that we saw a very vanilla game plan, and even Sark came out in his presser and said that, they threw a lot of things that we weren't expecting. They threw a lot of things that we weren't used to, that they didn't show on tape. And if that's the case, then it just goes back to what we were saying about the second half adjustments, right? About them going into the locker room, looking at what they just saw, realizing that whatever they were doing to stop it or to get themselves going wasn't working. So let's move on to the next thing and figure it out. And they come out and score three touchdowns. So like I said, it goes back to second half adjustments and just making sure that we're minding our P's and Q's, because this upcoming week is going to be a big test of that.
Yeah, it's going to be big. Man, I'm ready for this upcoming week. This is going to be interesting. I want to see how Quinn kind of takes on to the environment. But I tell you what, he's always been a pretty cool dude. It's like nothing really rattles him. Even at Oklahoma State, when he didn't have the best game, he still wasn't, I wouldn't say rattled. I mean, he was just out there throwing the ball. But he's pretty even keel. So we'll see. It's all going to come down to this weekend. I actually put this in the video today. I think our defensive line played outstanding. I think it's the strength of our defense, and it might be the strength of our team. Alabama's offensive line, I watched that game, and yes, they're a huge offensive line. They're 340 pounds average, 6'5", 340. But I wasn't overly impressed with their offensive line, even against Middle Tennessee. I'm not saying they weren't good. No, they're a good offensive line, but I've seen great Alabama offensive lines. This one has the potential to be great. It's just that they have young players in their line as well. They're starting left tackles are true freshmen. But they have no choice but to be great. Every player on that line is a number one or number two player at their position for their year group. So they're going to be great towards, I'm going to say at game 6, they're going to click and be jailed. I think we're getting them early. I think that's great for us to get them early. And I think our defensive line, which is a little bit more mature, might be able to show some of those young guys moves that they haven't seen before or seen at a quick level in an in-game experience, right? So I think the thing is going to be whose defensive line is going to beat up the opposing offensive line more. Is Texas defensive line going to whoop up on Alabama's offensive line more, or is Alabama's defensive line, which is outstanding, are they going to whoop up on Texas's offensive line more? So I think that's going to be the key to who wins the game. It's going to be good. It's going to be good.
I agree. You know, I will say we weren't very confident in our offensive line going into last year, and it ended up being one of our strengths. You know, it ended up being something that we were actually pretty proud of. We had, you know, Christian Jones stepped up. You have Kelvin Banks, who is just absolutely insane and All-American, you know, or freshman All-American, you know, just absolute dogs on, like, and we've kind of talked about it before privately and everything like that, about how Kelvin Banks is kind of that staple of the offensive line, right? You know, bringing in Kelvin Banks is a huge testament to what Sark and Kyle Flood are doing, and being able to develop Christian Jones opposite of him to be able to hold up his side just as well is big, especially considering the fact that just a couple years ago, a lot of people were hoping and praying that Christian Jones wouldn't be on the roster anymore.
It's true. It's true. He was out of
so,
position. You know, we had him at left tackle, and he's a better right tackle. And he graded out extremely well for this game. I think he was the highest graded offensive lineman, you know, pretty much for the game. You know, him followed by Kelvin Banks. But yeah, I mean, having those two on the ends is going to be perfect because Alabama has a big strength in Dallas Turner coming off the edge. And I think that, yeah, he's going to make his plays. Every great player is going to make their plays. But, you know, I say that, but last year, Kelvin Banks held, you know, Big Will Anderson to 0 sacks, right? So,
yeah,
you know, it's going to be interesting.
I think it's going to be, like you said, it's going to come down to whose defensive line can stop the other's offensive line more, right? It's going to come down to the turnover battle. Who wins the turnover battle? Who is able to initiate more possessions for their offense? Who is able to, especially with the new game clock rules and everything, who dominates time of possession? Giving yourself those opportunities, right? Defense allowing the offense, or defense doing what they need to do to give the offense extra opportunities, especially considering with the new clock rule and everything, you're losing sets.
Probably 2 possessions if you have a team who's just a ball running team. So that's an interesting thing, you know, Lacey, is when you look at the line here, Texas did something I didn't think was going to happen. You know, so once DJ got hurt, they moved Hayden Conner over to right guard and put Neto in at left guard, which I was like, wow, that kind of caught me off guard because all camp we've been hearing that it's been a DJ Campbell and Cole Hudson battle. But it seems like now it looks like Kyle Flood looks at Neto as the 6th best offensive lineman. And if that's the case, when he came in the game, we saw on that left side of the line, Kelvin Banks Jr. and Neto, they ran the ball behind them. And it was like, wow. I mean, their run blocking was nasty. Jaden Luke had a hell of a day behind that side of the line. And Jaden Luke's another one that we got to talk about.
I was about to get to the running backs. I was about to go on to the running backs because I was actually fairly impressed with a few different backs.
Yeah.
There were a few different backs that showed some shiftiness, some great stuff in between the tackles. Yeah.
You know, but it's interesting to see how that offensive line is going to play out. And now against Bama, do we keep, you know, like Neto at the left guard? Do we keep Hayden Conner at the right guard? Because Hayden Conner.
How's that rotation going to look?
How's that rotation going to look now? If DJ's fully healthy, Does DJ still slide into his right guard position, or do we trust the experience of Hayden Connor because he is the best pass blocking guard on the team too? But Neto might be the best run blocking guard on this team after what we saw. So, man, this is going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting.
It's going to be interesting to see just exactly how they put in all the different sets, right? I'm just excited. I'm excited to see what happens, and I'm excited to see just exactly how Kyle Flood and Sark approach the offensive line going into this weekend. Just because it was something that seemed to be more of a question mark. But like I said, it was a question mark last season, and they held up nicely against Bama's defensive line last season. So
yeah, they got what they want. You know what though? I'm gonna tell you what. You can see where this line is trending because he's starting, Flood. He's starting to filter in the guys who he recruited into that line, and we're starting to see that. Next year, you're going to probably have a line of Kelvin Banks Jr. in his last year here, Neto at left guard. They're going to have somebody at center, whether it's Connor Robinson or Cole Hudson at center, because he's been cross-training there as well, right? So I can see, Cole Hudson, DJ Campbell at right guard, and Cam Williams at right tackle. And you have
Big Cam Williams.
You're going to have a line that has an average weight of about 340 pounds itself. Right. So I think we see where this is trending. And people have to understand about the offensive line is it's one of the hardest positions to recruit. We've seen it here at Texas. We've had 5 stars here that didn't pan out and high 4 stars. They had 3 stars like Samuel Cosme and Connor Williams, who was a low 4-star, high 3-star guy that went to the league. Right. So it is so hard to physically see how a guy's going to mature when they get in college. But you see what Kyle Flood's doing. There's 2 things you can't teach, right? Size and speed. And he's recruiting guys that are big, big humans is what he likes to say.
And they can move.
And they got good feet. Yep, they got really good feet. And so that's what we're going to see in that line here next year for sure. I'm hoping this year it comes.
Yeah, right. Hopefully we get there a little bit. Hopefully we start seeing that a little bit more this year too.
Yeah, exactly. But I'm loving it. I'm ready to see how he's going to tinker with that line this year.
Me too. It's going to be really good. Like I said, it's going to be really good to see what they're able to put together on Saturday and see how they're able to counter.
Yeah, exactly. And those guys can't be scared. They can't be scared up there in Alabama. That's the thing is, that's why it's interesting on whether or not Hayden Connor's just going to move to right guard for this game because he's been in this game. He's been in this situation. He held his own. He knows he can do it. So he was against Otis last year. It's going to be interesting. It's a chess match. It's a chess match between Flood and the defense coordinator.
Well, and that's one thing that I constantly talk about with Sark whenever I'm having conversations with people is I feel like a lot of what Sark benefits from is he seems to play chess, not checkers. He seems to constantly be working on the mental game as well, and working on the game from a mentality standpoint, whether it be himself, coaching staff, players, anybody. He's all about the mentality too. So going into next week, going into Tuscaloosa, Sark has been there. Sark has coached in Tuscaloosa. So he knows what to expect. He knows how rowdy they're going to be. And I hope that he gets them ready. I hope he does whatever he has to do to initiate any sort of rowdiness because it's going to be crazy. It's going to be a crazy game inside, outside for players, fans, everybody. If you're going to the game, be careful. Stay with your friends. Be careful, y'all.
I'm taking my Texas plates off.
Watch out. That's what I'm saying. Watch out for
on the bag. I'm taking that off.
That's what I'm saying. Watch out for your peoples, man. Because
I'm taking my lifetime long.
We've heard the SEC can get a little crazy. So watch out for your homies, man. Because
it's gonna
be ready. It's going to be crazy. So let's kind of talk about another strength or one of the things that I saw as a strength, and I believe our running backs. We kind of talked about it a little bit a second ago, and Jaden Blue and Jonathan Brooks. Cedric Baxter did get injured and went to the locker room, but he was at practice today. He was okay. For anybody that doesn't know, that has been reported. He is back in practice, and everything seemed to be okay per Sark. So How are we feeling about the running backs? What are you feeling?
Love it. If Baxter can come in and play again next week, it's just a rib injury. I think he fell on the ball kind of wrong, what have you. But you have Baxter, you have Brooks, you got a 1A and a 1B. Whoever starts is what it is. I think we saw exactly how valuable both of them were. Brooks was the change
in different ways.
In different ways. Brooks is a hell of a receiver. We saw on that screen to the backside, he runs in for 42 yards for a touchdown. I mean, he just has that kind of speed. Vision is great.
He dropped 6 though.
He did drop 6. He dropped 6.
That was a wide 6, like
that
wide
reminded
open.
Me of Keontae Ingram against LSU. I don't want to bring it up again.
No, but that's it. It gave all of us PTSD. All of us were like,
yeah, but it was in the wind, so that's something that's right. But
yeah.
I loved Brooks's game. He was very efficient in the passing game, very efficient in the running game as well. Baxter, I thought, was just starting to get into his groove. He's not going to be a guy that's going to get 8 yards. He's so big and physical. He's going to mow you down for 3 yards. 2 yards, 4 yards.
That goal line stand,
then 4 yards again. And then you're tired of hitting this 225-pound dude. And then he's
going to bust one.
Yeah, so very, very good guy too as well. But Jaden Blue, I thought, was the star of the show this weekend. And people love to forget about Jaden Blue and just how good of a player here. Jaden Blue is going to be a 5-star guy if he'd have played his senior year. He was the number 1 running back in the country his junior year of high school, and he didn't play his senior year. And every website dropped him in rankings because he didn't play his senior year. And it's kind of just kind of sad for the kid because he is an awesome player, and I think we saw that on Saturday. Fast. And he's big too. He's 6 foot with 195, 200 pounds. Great vision.
I was about to say, one thing I really liked about pretty much all of the backs that we saw, with Jonathan Brooks, Jaden Blue, Cedric Baxter, those main guys, they were very patient. They were very patient behind their blocks. They were very, like you said, they had good vision of the field, and they were really good in between the tackles. They were really, like, all of them seemed to be working like pinballs. It seemed like they would disappear behind the line, and then you'd see their little noggins kind of bouncing a little bit, and then you'd see them bust up for 5 to 10 yards. So, and you saw that from multiple different backs, like not just one.
Yeah, that's true. So it's a deep room. I've been on the record, like saying this, that yes, we lost Bijan and we lost Rojo. Totally get it. Probably, Bijan's top 4 or 5 guy to ever, lace up some cleats at, at that position here in Texas. Rojo's probably top 10 at the school as far as running backs too. When you go back and look at the data and just look at him as a player.
Well, and Rojo's only issue was that he was behind Bijan.
So just think about it. We had one draft, a 1st round pick and a 3rd round pick, right? In the same draft. It kind of shows you just the depth of that room. But I've been on record saying that although we lost Bijan and Rojo, and I understand that they're great players, I think that this offensive line is going to be a little bit more mature this year than last year, and that Bijan and Rojo aren't going to have to, these running backs will not have to make people miss as early as possible as Bijan and Rojo did last year. I'm hoping hope this line cleans up some things, and I think that we're going to have a very comparable season as a total unit, to what we had last year.
It might be a little bit more by committee, but I think we'll see very similar production. We'll see similar gain from the room. It just won't be by 1 or 2 people. It'll be by,
and it keeps them fresher, right? And so, so one thing, Jaden Blue, it just, my last thing about him is his balance.
Yes, their center of gravity.
Yeah.
Yes.
His balance was great. That's one thing that once he came out of high school, that was the first thing that, I saw on his tape. And I, pretty much said it on my tape. I was like, dude, this guy's balance is outstanding. It's unreal. And so, it's just a matter of how can that translate to the college level. And it did, we saw it. He got his time and he shined.
I was very impressed with both Jaden Blue and Jonathan Brooks' center of gravity. Their balance and their ability to keep their feet in tough situations was pretty impressive. That was one thing that I was pretty surprised by. It wasn't And I've seen their tape. We've seen what they do and stuff like that. But it's different to see it in a live setting. And we had Bijan and Roshan. So we haven't seen, like, this was the first real look that we've seen at these guys, you know? So it's something that I was really impressed with, and something that I was really excited to see is that shiftiness, that center of balance, and the ability to kind of keep the play going, whether there's guys at your feet or pulling you down no matter what. So so what are some of the things that you think that we need to clean up? We've kind of talked about the offensive line woes, the interior offensive line. You know, Jake Majors has struggled. That's why, like, I literally said with, and then I thought about it, and I was like, he's just struggled. Like, it just, I don't even know, like, it's one of those things where he's a 4-year starter. Like,
It used to be better. There's a reason why Cal Flood's been trying to replace him since he's got on campus.
And it's one of those things where it's just at this point, he just kind of is who he is.
And that's how we got.
Like, but that's why it's exciting to get a Daniel Cruz.
Yeah,
you know,
Daniel
that's
Cruz.
why.
Try to get Cole Hudson to cross train there.
Yes,
Yeah,
like
so
that's
we
why
need
it's
it.
exciting to be able to get those guys, because we do struggle with Jake.
Mhm.
You know, Jake does struggle at the position. You know, he does struggle in getting put on his ass sometimes and false starting.
Yeah,
Like his,
center.
he's down for at least one false start a game. At least one.
Yeah.
At least one motion, one movement, one little twitch, one little booty move. I don't freaking know. He's down for something a game, and it's very frustrating.
As a 4-year
That is one thing I will say, though, is that Saturday we saw a pretty disciplined team.
Yeah, it was this one.
We didn't have a lot. There weren't a lot of penalties. We did have a face mask and a false start.
Yeah, I think in total, I think on the offense, we had 5 penalties on the offense.
Mm-hmm.
Defense had no penalties. Not a one penalty on defense. But the offense had 5.
And they were very good in coverage. They were very, very good in coverage. We were very, very. I saw all the consistency with all the pass breakups and just keeping with your guy.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, I was really impressed with how they were in coverage.
Yeah, so one thing I think was a weakness though was, and this is the only thing I can say about the defense that I didn't like, was we got to finish sacks. You know, we had a couple opportunities to get 2 or 3 more sacks, and we had JT Daniels. He was there, and it was just like, just get him on the ground. It's gonna be a lot harder next week. You know, Jalen Milroe, he's really good.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely something they're gonna have to scheme for. They're gonna have to pay attention to. They're gonna have to make sure that that's something they're ready for.
Get him on the ground. He's strong. He's a lot stronger than JT Daniels. I mean, this kid's probably 225, 230, and runs like a running back and passes.
Yeah.
I mean, just he's outstanding. He's a great player. But
he is.
They got to wrap up. They got to wrap up on those tackles, man. On those sacks. I think that was the only thing I had against the defense. You know,
was just being able to finish.
Yeah. Just finish the sacks. We were there. The pressures were there. Just finish the sacks. Offensive side of the ball, and this is one thing that I was kind of surprised by. You know, so Gunnar Helm, and Mitchell on that 4th and 1 play with Jonathan Brooks, he takes the ball to the right side of the line. Helm and Mitchell both whiffed on the block, and it cost us a 4th and 1. I think we got half a yard. They just touched the guy. Jonathan Brooks runs for a couple yards, we get a first down, and then after that, we probably scored a touchdown on that drive because we were moving the ball pretty well that drive.
There were some blocking issues. There were a couple of guys that I wasn't extremely impressed with their blocking. You know, AD Mitchell being one of them. There were a couple times that there was a pass to Jordan Whittington. It was a screen to Jordan Whittington, and it was like AD just completely missed the block. Like, it was like he just kind of stood there and was looking around while Jay Witt's just like standing out over there like, help.
One thing, I don't think people understand how important that is, for the game. When you see guys like Jordan Whittington, he's a hell of a blocker.
Yeah.
Casey Kane is a hell of a blocker too. Take it back, like 2 years ago, Marcus Washington was a hell of a blocker. So when you're used to having that, and it's just something that's so subtle, but you're so used to having it, When it slips up for one game and you don't have it that one game, you're like, oh man, I wish we had some more block in there. But the saving grace with that is, look, man, you got AD Mitchell.
Yeah, he got a touchdown. Like he caught a touchdown.
Yeah, and
like, give and take.
It's a give and take, but also who better to learn how to block as a wide receiver than Jordan Whittington?
Yeah,
spend a little extra time, figure out some things, he'll get it. Gunnar Helm, I think that was just a lapse in his judgment because he's a really good blocker.
Yeah, he's normally really good.
Yeah, so that one kind of got me. But other than that, I mean, those are my weaknesses. Was just like from the defense side of the ball, the only thing I had was just finishing those sacks. And the offense we talked about in the deep ball and the blocking, the interior offensive line. But yeah, is what it is in that.
Yeah, I mean, how are you feeling overall now that we've kind of gone through everything? Now that we've talked about it, how are you feeling going into the weekend?
We got to see some improvement. I'm confident in the defense. The defense, I'm totally fine with. I think we match up perfect for them. I love Milroe, but I tell you what, Bryce Young's not coming through that door. Next week, and I don't think people realize how big of a loss that is. It's a Heisman Trophy winner, number one pick in the draft. So Milroe looked great, but Bryce Young was different. But also that was
and you're also breaking in a new offensive coordinator, a new defensive coordinator. You're breaking in a new quarterback. You're breaking in a new scheme, everything.
Yeah.
So can they have that together by week 2?
And that's the big
question. Fully.
Yeah, fully. But it's all dependent upon too. This is what I think Saban is going to do, and I've been saying this for a while. He's getting back to the basics, especially on the defense side of the ball. I think last year they were too exotic. Having Will Anderson drop back and Dallas Turner, that's stupid, right? Why would you have the nation's 2 best pass rushers dropping back in coverage?
Dropping back into coverage, yeah.
Yeah, it was something that Mac Brown said back in the day when we had Sergio Kendall. It was Mac or it's Muschamp, one of the two, but they basically said, why are you making a thoroughbred run backwards? No, you just make them run straight. I mean,
that's a good analogy.
Yeah, thoroughbreds don't run backwards.
No,
those dudes are awesome. So just let them pin their ears back and just go get the quarterback. So I think they were so exotic last year. I think this year Kevin Steele, he's a Saban guy. He's been there before. They're going to be so basic, fundamentally sound. That's what scares me about this game. They are going to be so fundamentally sound. But also I think that helps us out because Bama's not going to be really exotic this game, I don't think. I think they're going to be straight up. And that helps us out a lot because that allows guys like DJ Campbell to be straight up on a guy and not have to worry about a stunt or anything like that. He can really get his 340-pound hands on somebody and move them, right? So, I think it matches up well for our defense. I think our DBs match up with their wide receivers. I wouldn't say I'm not worried about it, but I think that's a wash. It's going to come down to how can our offensive line handle their defensive line. If they can get any kind of movement against them, great. I think we'll have a shot because I think our defense line is going to hold up.
Hey, Longhorn Nation. Football season is finally here, and there's no better place to shop for all things Texas Longhorns than at Fanatics. The Longhorn Shop by Fanatics is one of my go-to shops to get all of my Texas gear. It has everything from baseball, basketball, football, baby attire, accessories, hats, anything that you can think of, the Longhorn Shop has it. So make sure you go click the link in the description box. That link is an affiliate link, and it will help me help you. So thank you guys so much for anybody that goes and gets anything from Fanatics or the Longhorn Shop. It is greatly appreciated. Go and get your gear, y'all. Go get it. But one thing I was really excited about was seeing Quinn use his legs. That's one thing that when the pocket was collapsing, whenever he was being pushed, whenever he was being funneled out of the pocket, there were a couple times he was able to really use his legs. We gotta teach that motherfucker to slide though.
I know. Oh, I put that in my video.
Please stop going forward. Stop face planting.
Hey, look, against Bama,
slide. Stop face planting. What are you doing? You're gonna get hurt. Yes, you're gonna get hurt. They took him out last year and he wasn't even moving.
Yeah.
Like, so imagine if you're on the run, getting hit like a Mack truck. Get your ass down, slide, get down. Stop trying to like dive. Like, it's like he dives for everything, and like that's one thing that I'm happy to see him using his legs. Slide, please.
Quick too. He's pretty quick.
Yeah, he's got some motion. He's got some movement, and I think that he was kind of able to slow the game down in the second half. He knew a little bit more of what to expect. He knew what he was looking at. So he was able to slow it down for himself a little bit more and really able to get those short to intermediate connections. We just got to work on the deep ball.
Yeah, exactly. And I think also with the running, part for him, he has to be more decisive. If it's not there, you got a lane, go.
Just go. No hesitation. No, just go.
Yeah, because these guys at Bama are quick. And
there were a couple times that he got stuck. There were a couple times that he could have curled out and ran for a few yards, and he ended up running right into a freaking defender. Like,
yeah, exactly. And
so
you're gonna get hit.
Yes, you're gonna get hit. It's okay. You're gonna be fine.
Yeah, like I look at the deep ball, thrown by Milroe, and I think it was the first deep ball for a touchdown. And he stood in the pocket and he threw it, and as soon as he threw it, he got planted. But he stepped into that throw, and it was on the money.
Well, and I mean, you kind of saw it in the Wyoming game, too, in the Wyoming-Texas Tech game, where their quarterback, I'm slipping on his name right now, I don't remember. He got absolutely hammered.
Yeah.
Absolutely hammered and threw a dot.
Threw a dot.
Touchdown. Yes. So it's one of those things where I think Quinn is still worried about that. I think that's still something in the back of his head that he's nervous about. And honestly, the more you take it, the better it'll be. Like, that sounds really weird and that sounds really bad, but like, get put on your ass a couple times and it won't hurt as bad.
Get comfortable being uncomfortable. That's it.
I think we're going to go in and make it a damn good game. I think it's going to be fun. It's going to be entertaining. And I think we're going to Sark and company are going to put ourselves in a very good position to be able to excel in what we excel in and do what we got to do, because Saban is going to highlight our deficiencies.
Exactly. I'm with you.
So we got to be ready.
I'm with you. I think this team's going to do well.
I think so too. I think we're going to shock a lot of people. I think that because of how we performed at Rice, we got a lot of shit for it. Everybody's been blowing up, mouthing, talking shit, just kind of going ham on us and everything. Oh, y'all talked all this shit all summer, blah, 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 blah. I'm ready to shut everybody up.
Now, I wonder if that's going to kind of benefit us, because what if the Bama players are like, he's like, against Rice?
Yeah. Well, and that's what I'm saying. Like, they're sitting there like, y'all see how they played them? Like, you would think that after last season, because we played ULM very similar. We weren't fantastic at all in the ULM game. It wasn't Quinn's best day. It wasn't.
His first pass was a pick, wasn't it?
Second, I think. But yeah, I think it's like his first or second pass. That was hard to say. His first or second pass was an interception. So obviously it's something that he's got to get comfortable with. And I think that it's a new dawn, it's a new day, it's a different team, and they're going to be ready.
Yep.
I fully expect Sark and company to have this team ready and to have their mentality right, because it's going to be a dogfight. I don't care what anybody says, and it is going to be good.
Yep, I agree.
Well, that's really all I got. Thank you so much for sitting down and having the conversation with me and everything. I really appreciate you coming on. Did you want to kind of reiterate your socials and everything and just kind of give everybody a heads up as to what you're doing and how things are going one last time?
Yeah, so go to YouTube. It's going to be NinosCorner Sports. Just type it in on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. It's just straight NinosCorner. So like, comment, subscribe. It helps me grow the channel a lot, man. And yeah, thanks. Thanks for having me on.
Of course. Thank you so much. Hook 'em horns. Let's beat that Tide, baby. Let's go. It's on. I'm ready. I'm so ready. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Anytime. Just let me know. I got you.
All right. Bye. Thanks. Thank you. guys so much for tuning into this week's episode of Laced Up. Thank you so much, Nick, for talking some ball with me. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Hit that post notification bell so you're notified every single time that I upload. Leave a comment down below and let me know what you think is going to happen this weekend, how you think the game against Rice went, how you think we're going to match up against Bama, and let's get the conversation going, y'all, because this game is going to be dope. It's going to be a great game. It's going to be fun, entertaining, and I can't freaking wait. I'm ready to roll over that motherfucking tide and get shit going. The Horns are on parade. Let's go. Look 'em.